the most realistic online racing sim ever made. This is iRacing. Detailed laser scan tracks, fully dynamic real-world cars, and over 50 series to choose from. 6 online world championships offering over $100,000 in annual prizes. This is the original esport racing game. This is iRacing.
Well, hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Turn 3 Racing Network. As tonight, we're here at Stafford Motor Speedway, and the drivers right now are already done with the practice session and transferring over into the official racing session. I want to thank you all for joining me. My name is K.R. Stolfus, and here in the booth with me is none other than Ryan Kent Jr. How you doing out there tonight, Ryan?
It's fantastic to be with you, set for another fantastic night of pavement sprint car racing. Tonight, a visit to the half mile, kind of a big track, a little bit similar to what we saw last week when we broadcast from Lucas Oil Raceway Park, Claremont, Indiana. Set for an exciting night of action. We've even got a couple of guys that don't regularly race with the series who are going to be very competitive as well here tonight, looking for a great field of cars.
That we are. And so, guys, want to thank everyone for joining us, but we're going to go ahead and kick off our national anthem to begin tonight's proceedings.
We take you down onto the track for our opening ceremonies.
Ladies and gentlemen, please rise. Please remove your hats.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Well, hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to Turn 3 Racing Network as qualifying has gotten underway here for the iRacing Sprint Car Cup. The 2 machine of Skylar Brown has just put it on pole position with an excellent lap, turning a 17.268. Couple other drivers now making their way out on track. That is the 13 machine of Manuel, as he is down the backstretch and heading off into turns 3 and 4. Ryan, man, we got an exciting night of racing here tonight. Last week we were at Lucas Oil. Tonight we're here at Stafford Motor Speedway. What can you tell us about this track?
This is a half mile, which is Stafford. A little bit more banking than what we saw last week at Lucas Oil Raceway Park, which was just under 7/10 of a mile for the visit last week. But a lot of passing opportunities at a track like this, progressive banking, so that it really allows guys up on the top side. I think ultimately that we're going to see that middle, kind of like what we saw at Lucas Oil Raceway Park last week. That middle might be dominant, but especially if you kind of run the top here, it really falls off as you get onto the straightaway. So as we talked about fuel load burn off and tires wearing off, this is a track where it's easy to kind of lose the back end from underneath you.
The 18 machine of Mark Reynolds out on track right now. He is coming around to set his first time lap. Last week we watched JP Winchittle do an amazing job leading all but the last quarter of a track. And here tonight, he has qualified all the way in 6th place. So we'll see if that JP machine can find a way into victory lane. A couple other drivers now are qualifying. The 18 of Mark Reynolds, as he comes around the start-finish line, he has set a 19th quickest lap time. Just 2 other drivers out on track for qualifying, Robert Taylor and Jeffrey Taylor, as we have 1 minute 50 seconds left in this qualifying session.
Yeah, 21 cars have entered the event, and it looks like Reynolds, he's a little off the pace there, about 0.3 of a second. He has pulled his hat out of the ring, if you will. He is, I don't believe, going to compete in this event here. And we talked about you know, some of the bigger tracks. This is one of those tracks where, especially as we get into runs, lap traffic here will be much more of a battle than what it was last week. This place races a little bit more, at least to me, more like a short track than it does a big wide open like a wide open place, similar to what it was, you know, like last week at Lucas Oil. So lap hours and getting through traffic will be a little bit more of a challenge here. Knock on wood that we're able to stay green for, you know, a good long green flag run.
As we look at our point standings coming into tonight's race, while the drivers start taking to the grid, Dan Smith has taken over the top spot. Jeffrey Stanton has moved into second. Ryan Sellers has fallen all the way to 3rd place. Ryan Sellers was leading the points last week at Lucas Oil, but remember, we're catching a one race out of an entire week of racing, so these points are going to keep changing quite dynamically throughout the week. So it's always a surprise for us, Ryan, to see who is where in these point standings when it comes down to it.
It absolutely is. And we talked about you know, last week, the last time we brought a race to you at Lucas Oil Raceway Park, where Sellers and Smith came in at 1-2 and they left, finishing the bottom 2 positions in the feature events because of some misfortune in their events that were separate. So they're certainly looking for redemption here. So there's a couple outsiders we talked about, guys that don't necessarily run all the time, one of which is Skylar Brown, and he's going to roll off from the pole today.
Skylar Brown is on pole, and as we're showing you tonight's starting lineup, we'll pick it up in row number 5. Rich Foreman in the 16 machine, and Alex Oriens. He keeps telling me, Kara, don't call me Oreo, but Ryan, I just can't help myself.
That's you got a couple good nicknames in here, and that's one of them.
That it is, for sure. As the drivers wait patiently to take off from the grid, row number 7, Brad Ringer and Kenneth Carlson in the 15 machine. Ryan Payne, Manuel Padres in row number 8. Row 9 will be the 21 of Edwin Jones and the 17 of Mitchell Abrahall. And Ryan, why don't you take us through the rest of tonight's starting lineup?
Where'd you leave me off there exactly here?
We'll go with row 10.
Go row 10. So Mark Reynolds and Robert Taylor. Looks like Reynolds has come back and is going to compete in tonight's event. Jeffrey Taylor rolls off on the outside of the inside rather of row number 11 in that 21st spot. A pretty good size difference in terms of speed difference rather in terms of lap time back there towards the back of the pack. But certainly good to have a full field of cars of 21 in action here tonight, KR.
Yeah, it is, and I'll tell you what, right now we're going to go on board with the 5 of Dan Smith for this start. Dan Smith had a wild ride at Lucas Oil Speedway. We'll see if he can get through turns 1 and 2 without having an issue here tonight, but pace cars down and away. We get ready to go. Green flag racing. Skylar Brown in control of the field on his outside. Matthew Pilas in the 3. Green flag is out. 55 laps here at Stafford Motor Speedway as they head off into turn number 1. Dan Smith down to the inside, tucked in tight behind the 4 of Jeffrey Stanton.
They go single file for the first 2 spots, and it's a side-by-side battle for third. You talked about Stanton down there on the inside. Sellers on the outside as Matthew Pilas comes by the line first, and he leads lap number 1. First of 55 laps here at the half mile. Now Stanton's able to slide by Sellers. Last week's winner that we brought to you at Lucas Oil Raceway Park just led that last lap. That's all that mattered. He rolls into the 3rd spot. Now everybody starts to single file out. They really pick the bottom side of the speedway, especially tight on entry to 1 and 3, and then drift a little high on the exit of the corner. Start to pinch their way down to the bottom. Try to figure out exactly what their race cars got here early as they complete lap number 3.
Jeffrey the Jet Stanton, last week's race winner here on Thursday night. Right now he finds himself in 3rd spot, just ahead of the 1 of Ryan Sellers. Sellers going to get into turn 3 hot. He's going to wash up. JP Winshittle going to squeeze on by, put the 6 machine into 4th place. And now the 1 of Ryan Sellers gathers it back in down to the bottom. And again, a little bit of a wiggle from that 1 machine.
And now he's right in the grasp of his teammate. Now he's battling the points in Dan Smith. Smith pulls to his inside down the front straightaway. Takes a peek into 1 and 2. He's there on the entry to the corner. Sellers gives him plenty of room when those 2 teammates drag race side by side down the back straightaway. Sellers on the outside, the blue 1. His teammate on the inside of the blue number 5. Able to go with the advantage. And it looks like Gary Loney's going to try to come with him and slide himself into that 6th spot. That's a whole gaggle of cars right there in a good battle. Tiernan sticks his nose in there as well down the backstretch.
Dan Smith does move into the top 5. Ryan Sellers falling to 6th. Gary in that 8 machine, now side by side with the 7 of James Tiernan. And here comes the 9 of Ron Quinzel. He is right there as well. He is taking a peek at all this action going on, and Ron is thinking, man, if these guys get together, I could pick up a few spots.
Absolutely. It's a lot of opportunity, and kind of like what we saw last week. Just being patient, having a little bit of longevity will help you out, as we are just about 20% of the way in this race. They'll complete lap number 9 and this time by with Matthew Pilas as your leader out front. It's a slow C pace here early on.
Already working lap 10 of 55, this half-mile track being circulated in about 17.2 seconds. Pilas laying down some excellent lap times and pulling away from the 2 of Skylar Brown. The 6 machine of Winshittle has moved into 3rd place, so a very quick start for the 6. And in fact, last Tuesday night in the iRacing official race, this 6 machine actually crossed the start-finish line first, but then made a mistake of passing the pace car, and the last car had not made it around yet across the start-finish line, so he was actually scored as passing the pace car, received a black flag. Now he's trying to win this race here for real once again.
He has had a week of heartbreak after leading 74 and about 3/4 laps at IRP last week, and then having kind of an issue on Tuesday night, which ended up handing the win to a guy who's just right now in front of him, and Skylar Brown. It's been But an interesting week for JP Winchittle.
That has, as we're working a lap traffic now. Matthew Pilas in the 3 machine, trying to figure out how to get around the 19 of Jeffrey Taylor. Taylor going to go high. Pilas down to the bottom as we ride on board, looking out the back of the Taylor machine. And now Pilas has him cleared. Skylar Brown trying to figure out where he's going to go. Taylor goes again high, and a very gentleman move by this 19 machine.
Yeah, we talked about lap cars. They, especially with where you catch them at, they're going to be very tricky to get by here at Stafford.
3 cars nose to tail. The 5 machine of Dan Smith, the 1 of Ryan Sellers, and that is the 7 of James Tiernan. These 3 sprint cars are battling for a 5th place spot. For the moment, Dan Smith has it. He's going to dive down to the inside of Taylor. All 3 cars going to squeeze on by. Ron Quinzel and the 9 machine also now making the move. The 10th place car being held by the 10 machine, and that is Alex Oriens.
Tell you what, James Tiernan has a rocket ship so far. He goes to the outside of Ryan Sellers into turns number 1 and 2, and those two drag race down the back straightaway. Tiernan leads him by a nose into 3, pinches him to the bottom off of turn number 4. Move James Tiernan. He started 12th. He's now up to 6th here on lap number 20.
So the 7 machine working his way forward along with the 6 of JP. A couple other drivers out here that we want to touch base with. Brad Ringer in the 20 machine. Right now he finds himself in 14th spot after starting in 13th. So the 20 continuing out there on the track. Right now we have 19 cars on the lead lap. The last car, well, now make it 18. Brian Payne in the 18th spot. Last car on the lead lap. So our leaders are starting to work through traffic here.
Now that battle in the middle of the pack that we talked about, right around the 5th spot with Dan Smith as they go by a lap car. Tiernan starts to go on a charge in that 98. Looks like he got out of the front stretch wall a little bit right there. And maybe painted up the right side of his Hoosier tires. Starts to continue to chase down Dan Smith. Those two qualified in 5th for Smith, which currently runs. Tiernan qualified back in 12th, but talked about the run he's been on so far. That Forgot Real Estate number 98 machine. That's a tribute back to like a Parnelli Jones looking car that competed in the Indy 500 back in the day. A fantastic looking machine. Clinton Boyles runs a car similar to that on the wing and non-wing sprint car scene on the dirt regularly. Inside of Smith right there goes Tiernan, and I can't quite pull enough rope right there on the exit of number 4. Gonna have to fall back in line and ride in 6th.
Well, Ryan, I got to tell you, apparently trading paints isn't working for me because I'm not getting to see these beautiful paint schemes that are out there here tonight. It looks like everyone is running their iRacing default paint scheme to me. So I do apologize, guys. If you wanted to see these paint schemes, we did have trading paints working last week at Lucas Oil Raceway, but here tonight it is everyone's iRacing default. So that kind of stinks there, Ryan. I'm a little sad.
It's all right. There's the 98 on my screen, but is for timing and scoring purposes, for your purpose, is number 7. He in that time by had a good run on Smith. It seems like he's faster getting into the corner, but getting off the corner just doesn't quite have enough ammo to fire away and try to make a move. Ryan Sellers rides right behind him as Dan Smith's teammate. Tiernan gonna roll to the top side and try to diamond the corner off, try to get a run coming off the corner and see just what kind of power he can muster up. Now he goes to the bottom of Smith in turns number 1 and 2. Smith tries to pull hard on the outside and pretty much just let Tiernan go right on by. That opens the door for Ryan Sellers. Sellers to the bottom in turn number 4. Trying to go side by side with his teammate and at the stripe give the 6th spot still to Ryan Sellers now.
So Dan Smith now slides into 7th place, but at the front of the pack, Matthew Pilas, Skylar Brown, They have closed in on each other. Pilus, your race leader, he has led all 30 completed laps. We have 25 laps to go, and that 3 machine is out in front, but Skylar Brown in the 2 wants to take it away from him. Skylar Brown right now sitting in the tire tracks of that 3 machine. And the one thing about the sprint cars here, there's no drafting, there's none of that. It is all about what the driver can do and how he can get through the corner. And we're seeing some different lines from all of these cars. Not only different lines, but these drivers are hanging on to these things down the straightaway by the skin of their teeth.
Now, like I said earlier, even though this is a half mile, it kind of races like a short track, but how you set the car up, and kind of the lines that you take and the varying amounts of lines you can take. Brown cuts that deficit down to, it was inside 0.2 of a second. Now it's starting to slowly pull back out just a little bit. As pilots, as they were able to get around that lap car. Now it's all them with about a half track again until they should see any kind of traffic.
Brad Ringer in the 20 machine. As we take a peek at him, he is down to the inside of the 11. Robert Taylor in that 11 machine in a 20th spot. The 20 machine is Brad Ringer. So for iRacing point system, these drivers, their numbers are showing in comparison to their iRating in this field. So Brad Ringer has the 20th spot for his iRating, and right now he is running in 14th, so a solid showing for the 20 of Brad Ringer.
Matthew Pilus has been able to open up his lead just a little bit more. Pilus is your leader, leads by about 0.3 of a second as they start to chase down a lap car down the back stretch and into 3 and 4. JP Winschittle, who had heartbreak a couple times over the course of the last week, rides in 3rd. Jeffrey Stanton. James Tiernan, who started 12th, is all the way up to 5th now from his 12th starting spot. Ryan Sellers in 6th. Dan Smith in the 7th spot, those 2 teammates. Gary Loney, Alex Oriens, and Ron Quinzel rounding out your top 10. Your leaders start to work by a lap car. That's the 13 machine of Manuel Paredes, and he'll allow them to roll right on by, but that does allow Skylar Brown to close in just a little bit. Your leaders with about 2-second gap between them and 3rd place running JP Winschittle here as they complete lap number 39, this time by a 55. About 16 laps to go this time, KR.
You mentioned JP, and he has started in 6th place, moved himself up into 3rd. That 6 machine looking for his first win in these cars, and that 6 is going to get it sooner or later. He has shown some outstanding talent. We saw him lead so many laps last week at Lucas Oil Raceway, and here he is again in 3rd. So this is a driver that has figured out how to get around in these very difficult sprint cars. But man, right now Matthew Pilus in that 3 machine, he's just making this look easy.
He is pretty much on cruise control on a Sunday drive, if you will, and he still certainly has a lot of pressure from Skylar Brown, because if he just so much as lights up the tires or just misses an entry, Brown's going to be right there with as tight of a track as this is. But he is able to pull away by about, I don't know, 0.05 of a second every lap or so, been able to pull out just a little bit every step of the way. But you wonder if maybe Brown's just trying to save up some time and wait around a little bit as closing on about 10 laps to go. They work on lap number 44 of 55 with 12 laps to go. Wonder if Skylar Brown's just trying to be patient. Maybe this opportunity right here as they close in on lap cars can help him out as he rides in 2nd.
The 21 machine, that is Edwin Jones. He stays out of the way. He's going to go 2 laps down along with Jeffrey Taylor. In the 11 machine, the next car in the sights of the 3 machine, he stays high and up out of the way. And real quick, I do want to mention this is one of my favorite iRacing communities to be a part of. Skylar Brown has gotten into the lap car, gone up and over, and we are going to have a caution. The 2 lands on his wheels and gets rolling, but he is going to fall to 4th place by the time he settles. But man, that 2 machine maybe has escaped severe damage.
He's got problems.
No, I think
he's got problems. They connected pretty well. We're watching that live.
All right,
I'd
let's
be
go
amazed
to.
if he's able to continue with no problems.
Let's go to our turn 3 instant replay. The 2 comes up off the corner. Tires touch, and he is going to get flipped onto his roll cage, but somehow lands back on all 4 tires and gets rolling. And so our first caution of the night is coming out here late in the race. As we go back live, the 2 of Skylar Brown has settled into 4th place. Just ahead of him, I believe that is the 13 machine of Manuel. But he has put himself in 4th, and James Tiernan in that 7 sitting in 5th.
Well, Skylar Brown's going to weave his car around and see if everything feels okay. There's no obvious damage, at least from what I'm seeing. And man, there was a lot of, and obviously anytime you get upside down in especially in a pavement car, that's a tough thing to do. But he's going to be able to continue on. Maybe he can still have a shot here on this restart with it'll be probably about 5 to go, 6 to go whenever we get back to green here.
Yeah, single file restarts here in these pavement sprint cars. So everyone going to get in line here, nose to tail, and let it rip. They'll try and protect that outside lane, as in the iRacing official rules, a pass is considered legal if you do it from the outside of your starting lane. So the 3 of Pilas is now going to have to deal with JP Winshittle, who has moved into 2nd.
Now Winshittle from 6th up to 2nd and rides 3rd starting and 3rd sitting. Jeffrey Stanton, we talked about Skylar Brown, who is your pole sitter and had ridden in 2nd for pretty much all of this race since the start. Wonder if maybe he was patient, if he had a shot there. But after that flip and contact, he falls back to the 4th spot with James Tiernan on a strong charge. And I had to show it to you as a number 7, but regularly runs a beautiful number 98 scheme. And he started 12th and was all the way up to 5th, our hard charger, if you will, so far here today.
Kenneth Carlson in the 15 machine, finding himself into 14th place here at Stafford Motor Speedway. As drivers looking like they're starting to line up. The lights have gone out on the pace car. We're going to send this one off to the races once again. And Ryan, why don't you take us through this green flag?
There's going to be a couple laps left to go. They'll resume action on lap number 52 of 55. That means 4 Pilot slowly paces his number 3 with JP Winshittle behind. Gets a good restart. They're back underway here at Stafford Motor Speedway. Old Rumble at 900 horsepower powers their way to the bottom of turns number 1 and 2 as your top 5 all go single file. Nobody looking to make a move quite yet. Working here lap number 52. About to begin lap number 53. It looks like a side-by-side battle for the 4th spot between Brown and Tiernan as they work into turns number 1 and 2. KR?
Tiernan going to slide in behind Brown, but Winshittle trying to find some kind of opening to stick the nose of that 6 machine behind the 3 of Matthew Pilas, but Pilas is just starting to gap the field here. That 3 trying to pull away, trying to win this one with 2 laps to go. He's going to get the white flag next time around.
An ultimate lap set to come to the white flag. Sees the white pillowcase in the air. Does Matthew Pilas in a yellow. We've got a yellow. A final caution. We're going to try for a green-white checkered finish. That changes everything. KR, lights on the pace car go on. And it meets the field on the exit of turn number 2.
As we go to our turn 3 instant replay to see what happened to this, to bring out the caution here tonight, as I believe it was the 12 of Mark Hefner gonna get involved in an incident here. So let's back this up a little bit more and see where the 12 found his problem. He's racing with the 16 machine down into the corner, and Hefner gonna climb a tire and go up into the guardrail. So
Big
our
flip
caution,
right there for him.
yeah, caution comes out. Hefner having to take the flatbed back to his pit stall unable to get on all four wheels. Skylar Brown, one of those lucky drivers who landed on four tires, was able to get rolling. He is still sitting in fourth, but the fortune's not falling Hefner's way.
It will be a green-white checkered finish, just as Pilas was coming under the white flag when the yellow comes out to fly. Top five looks like this. Pilas, your leader, with JP Winchittle setting in second in that car number 6, who led 74 in about 3/4 laps last week and had a win not taken away from him, but essentially was up front again earlier this week in an official race, and rides now in second. Jeffrey Stanton in third, and right where he started, Skylar Brown rode in second for most of this race. Rides back and forth after contact that put him up and into the wall and over. James Tiernan, who's had a strong run from 12th to 5th, made most of those moves in the first half of this race and really hasn't done a whole lot since. Wonder if maybe he's used up his tires a little bit too much, or if those leaders were just a little bit too far away from him. See if he can make any kind of moves. Notice the teammates on a strong duo always of Ryan Sellers and Dan Smith running there at 6th and 7th. But and Matthew Pilas looked really strong on that last restart, KR. Goodness. Yeah, lots of caution before really even get to green. As if you go back to that restart and look about 3rd, 4th, 5th, they were scanning out and spreading out all over the racetrack. It was a whole lot of battling going on right there. It was a wild restart right there for everybody pretty much except your leader in Matthew Pilas. Yeah, kind of a weird ending right there as everybody goes to park it on the front stretch. For a little bit there, it was showing 3rd on as a lap down to your leaders. So a little bit of confusion right there with the pace car and exactly where it came out right there, leading up to that last restart that really didn't happen. So confusing into the race, but Pilas, Winchittle, and Stanton come home apparently as your podium.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, as we're ready to kick off our post-race show, and Ryan Kent has caught up with our race winner. That is Matthew Pilas in the 3 machine, but Matthew may not be ready just yet. So, Ryan, I'm going to let you take it away with Matthew.
Matthew Pilas, Ryan Kent up here. You got a copy with us? We can indeed. Congratulations on a well-earned win. A little bit of confusion there late with some restarts and things along those lines. But what's going through your mind there on those last couple restarts, and ultimately a dominant performance for you out front and able to pull away from the field?
Well, at the end, we had that green-white checkered when I was about 2 seconds from taking the white, and then a similar situation happened on Tuesday when the yellow came out immediately on the restart. There's a lot of confusion about who needed to catch the pace car and if the pace car came out at all, as on Tuesday we had the leaders get disqualified due to an issue on iRacing's timing. That's why you saw all of us stop before the line and kind of not understand what to do next. But all in all, I had a lot of speed. This race, I missed the pole by messing up my last lap, as that lap would have put me on pole by about 1/10 of a second if I didn't half spin off 4. But I managed to get around Skyler on the outside. I don't think I jumped the start, but he waited so long that the iRacing threw the green, and he still hadn't gone, so I went for it and managed to pass him on the outside going into 1. And from there, just managing lap traffic and trying not to get or let Skyler get by, and I think he kind of got caught up with the lap car incident with about 10 to go.
We talked to a lot in this broadcast, Matthew, about lap traffic, and especially at a racetrack like this. We talked about how, to me at least, this place races more like a short track than it does a half mile. What's kind of your driving theory and trying to not only just pass lap cars but pass competitors, which you didn't have to pass anybody today except on the initial start throughout the course of a race like this, which was a shorter race than what we saw last week?
Yeah, I'm not too good at passing lap cars. Usually these events tend to be wreckfest when we go to these half-mile tracks, and I was very surprised that we didn't have any yellows until about 10 to go. I did not think lap traffic was going to come into this at all. Usually I would have expected about 5 yellows, but it was fairly clean up to about 10 to go, and I just made sure that I tried to get to the inside. When you have the speed difference between the lap car and the leader, it tends to get confusing, and I tried to avoid going on the outside, as I was really surprised I managed to get around Skyler on the outside. I think he kind of let off a little bit too much going into 1, as on Tuesday I was leading. JP got inside of me about halfway, and I got freight trained back to 5th, so I did all I could to avoid sliding up to that second groove.
That's Matthew Pilas, your winner tonight with the iRacing Sprint Car Cup at Stafford Motor Speedway. Who makes it possible for you and your 3 machine?
Well, I don't have any sponsors on my car, but if I had to take a shout out to one person, it'd probably be Dan Smith, who made the iRacing setups for all these tracks. That's what I really use to base my setup off of. I just take those setups that he made for all the tracks and just do some small tweaks, and that's really what I'm running here tonight.
Credit to the crew chief. Congratulations. We'll see you next week at Southern National, I hope.
Will do.
KR?
Now it's time to move on to our second place finisher, and that is JP Winchittle. JP, congratulations on second place out there here tonight. Tell us about that charge through the field that you had and coming up second place here tonight.
Well, KR, if you want me to be honest, I was trying to take it as easy as I could on that initial start, blowing my qualifying times as badly as I did. I knew I'd have to kind of see how everything played out with starting all the way back in 6th, just kind of read the tide of a race. And luckily for me, I was able to find some opportunities, make some opportunities and whatnot. And, I hate it for Skyler. I don't know what the heck happened to him up front, but I all of a sudden saw him upside down and inherited second place. But, above all things, I'm just glad I finally finished one of these things.
Well, JP, his second place finish here in the iRacing Pavement Sprint Car is nothing to shake your nose at. Last week, you led an outstanding amount of laps, but came up short here. You charged through the field to finish in second. How are you feeling in this race car?
I'm definitely feeling a little bit more confident, and I definitely want to be excited, but at the same time, there's a lot to learn with these cars. I feel like I lost a lot coming off the exit of the turns 2 and 4. Felt like I wasn't able to get the power down quite as well as I was able to last race. I don't know if you can chalk it up to fighting through the field the way I was, if I burned up some of my stuff, but tonight I just didn't have enough to really keep up with Matthew there. But either way, it was a lot of fun, and like I said, I'll take the points.
All right, man. Well, congratulations on second place. Any shout outs or thank yous you'd like to give?
First and foremost, I got to make a shout out to my sponsor, Double Clutch M3, for helping me get on to building a pretty stout setup for what it was worth. Winning unofficially last Tuesday and having a stout second place tonight. With all the help that I get from him, Eddie, and Scott from Wiley Racing Performance. I couldn't do any of this without those guys.
All right, man. Well, nice job out there tonight, and congratulations on your second place finish.
Thank you.
Ryan, I believe you caught up with our third place finisher.
Yes, sir, I have. Jeffrey Stanton, your third place finisher, also your third place starter today here at Stafford Motor Speedway after what ended up being about a 60-lap race. Jeffrey, take us through your afternoon.
Yeah, I was just trying to hold on to the car. I burned up the right rear a little bit too early. I was just trying to hold on to it on exit because it was getting a little bit loose on exit, and just trying to make my way through lap traffic as safely as possible. It kind of got a little sketchy there a couple times. There was a couple cars hovering over the middle lane and made it pretty dicey going into 1 and 3. So I was dive bombing them. So just trying to take care of my stuff and just try to be patient. It's a hard track to pass at, but it's a fun track.
Kind of seemed like, especially after about lap 10 or so, the leaders of Pilus and Skylar Brown, they were able to pull away from you just a little bit. And then the battle right behind you was good. So you kind of just seemed like you were in your own race. Was it a little hard to maybe focus at all, or especially when you didn't really have anybody to battle? As like I said, there was a decent little battle up in front of you for the lead, and then a heck of a battle going on behind you for 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th place.
Yeah, I was just trying to use the car ahead of me as a rabbit, just try to chase. Here be JP or Skylar. Just try to take it easy and conserve my stuff in case there was yellows. And of course there was yellows, and I hate to see it kind of get messy at the end again, especially with the pace car on the last lap there. We didn't know what was going on because we had a major glitch Tuesday night, and we didn't want to have that happen again to anyone up front or anyone in the back. So
you go from a couple of big tracks that we've had recently to next week at Southern National. What are your thoughts as we look forward to that one?
I like the small tracks a lot better. It's not necessarily my home track in iRacing, but it's one of my home state tracks on iRacing, so I always look forward to that. But Southern National ain't my best track by any means, but it's a fun track. I think it'll be pretty interesting racing.
Well, Jeffrey Stanton, we appreciate your time. Congratulations on your third place finish today.
Thank you. I'd like to thank Napa Auto Parts of Rockwell, North Carolina, Burning Lever Radio, Big Evil Designs, Cool Shirt, Racing Electronics, and everyone else that supports me, Farlow Motorsports, everyone else that supported me over the years, either be Real Racing and the Legend Cars or on iRacing.
Jeffrey Stanton comes home on the bottom step of the podium today, finishing in that third spot. You just heard from your podium finishers, with Matthew Pilus picking up the win, JP Winschittle coming home in second, and Jeffrey Stanton in third. Other cars inside the top 5, James Tiernan with a strong run from 12th all the way up to 4th, and your pole sitter Skylar Brown finishes 5th after an incident there in the closing laps of the race that knocked him back a couple of spots. KR?
Gary Loney going to bring it home in 6th. 7th place going to Ryan Sellers. Brad Ringer finishing in 8th. 9th going to Kenneth Carlson. And Alex Oriens finishing in 10th place here at Stafford.
Ron Quinzel brings his number 9 machine home in the 11th spot, and Rich Foreman comes home in 12th. Dan Smith, a disappointing afternoon here at Stafford for him as he started in 5th and comes home in 13th. Mark Reynolds comes home in the 14th spot, and Manuel Paredes comes home in 15th.
16th will be Mitchell Abrahal. 17th, Brian Payne. 18th, Robert Taylor. 19th, Edwin Jones. Jeffrey Taylor finishing in 20th, and 21st going to Mark Hefner in the 12 machine. So guys, that is going to wrap it up for us here at Stafford Motor Speedway. Coming up next week, April 30th, we'll be at Southern National. We hope you all will join us for that one here as well. And Ryan, before we sign off, final thoughts on tonight's race here at Stafford?
I know that there wasn't a huge battle towards the front, but so much great racing in the mid-pack, you would say, from pretty much spots 4 through 10. It seemed like all afternoon long throughout the course of those 55, 60 laps was a lot of fantastic racing, and fun to see guys like Tiernan. He was able to make a lot of passes on the outside, and it's going to be exciting. And Southern National is probably my favorite track to run the sprint car at. So I'm already excited and looking forward to next week.
All right, guys. Well, we are looking forward to week 8 in the iRacing schedule. And so as for tonight here at Stafford Motor Speedway, that is going to do it. And well, until next time, guys, hope you all stay safe. Everyone have a good night. And thank you so much for joining us out here at Turn 3 Racing Network.